everybody, it's Stacey with Stickman Painting Studio, and I'm so excited you decided to join me today. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint this really cute festive elf. We had a lot of requests for him, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get him on our event schedule, so we're going to be painting him here on YouTube. So if you want to go ahead, put on your apron and get settled, we'll go ahead and get started. Alright everybody, so on the bottom of your screen it's going to list all of the colors that you're going to need to create this painting. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started. And I'm going to be starting with kind of a larger medium brush. This one's about an inch wide, and it's nice and flat. And the first thing we're doing is we're going to be putting in this really nice background. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be using some of my dark blue, my phthalo blue. And I'm going to add just a touch, not a lot, just a touch of black to it. And then I'm also, just so this paint glides nicely, I'm going to go ahead and mix a little water in with it. And if you notice the example, the paint's put on pretty loosely, there's a lot of texture to it. But it's up to you and if you want it nice and smooth or if you want it to have a lot of texture. You may be wondering what's going on with my painting. We like to reuse canvases here because we do create a lot of the same thing. So we just reprime the canvas and creating a new masterpiece. So what I'm doing is I'm just going ahead, nice big marks, and I'm going to cover this entire canvas. I like to wrap my paint around the edges as well. If you painted with me before, you're going to know that white sides are not happy sides. So go ahead and do that whenever you feel like it, if you feel like it. If you plan on getting a nice frame for this, you might not have to worry about painting the edges, but if you paint the edges, you don't have to worry about getting a frame. Okay. As I'm going along here, I am scribbling a little bit. If you notice, I'm kind of really digging in with my bristles. Doing that sometimes just helps get the paint into the little grooves of the canvas. But if you have some of those little white specks showing, that's okay. On the example, I got some white specks showing. No big deal. Now it's starting to come in really nice. You might not even want to hang this up for yourself. Maybe you'll want to gift this for somebody. It is holiday time. Great thing to give as a nice gift if you know someone who likes elves, or he also has a little gnome look to him. There we go. And then as you finish up the front, if you are painting your edges, go ahead and wrap it around the sides. Make sure you get the top, both sides, and then you can either wait till later or flip your painting over to get that bottom edge. And then give it a look over one more time. And then once you're happy with this, we're going to go ahead. You can either take a little break and let this air dry, but I'm going to go ahead, take a little pause and dry it with a hairdryer. Just kind of quickens the process. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, everybody, so your painting should be really nice and dry now. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to be taking a piece of chalk, and we're going to be sketching in the basic shapes for our elf. Now, nice thing about the chalk is if you don't like something, let's say you make a mark and it's not what you thought it would be, you can take your finger or a rag. And the nice thing is you can just go ahead and wipe it away. Now, I would wipe away the extra water too, just to be safe, because when chalk gets wet, it's gonna get kind of pasty, and then it's harder to wipe away if you don't like it. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put in the shape of his hat, and I'm gonna do my best to make this as close in the center as I can. Now you could make yours a nice little basic triangle like this one. You could make it really pointy and skinny. It's your elf. But I'm gonna make mine a nice basic triangle, and then I did curve his hat on the bottom just slightly. And then below that, I'm gonna go ahead and put in his nose. It's kind of like an oval, nice little oval shape. And then I'm going to start putting in just kind of the basic idea of where I want his beard to go. I'm going to go ahead, get real close to his nose, going around there. And then it is going to curve, just kind of go out slightly. And then same thing on this side, kind of curves and then goes out slightly by the hat. I'm not going to put in the whole shape quite yet. But next thing I am going to do is I'm going to put in his legs, and those are going to be down a little lower. And they're just going to be two, you can make them a little longer if you want. So 4 lines total. And then for his shoes, they're going to kind of connect here on the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead 2 lines here, 1 there, 1 there. And then his feet are going to just kind of be flat on the bottom. Do your best. And during this step, if you do need to pause, rewind, just so you get this exactly how you want it, don't be afraid to do that. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead, his feet are going to curve here a little bit, and then you can make his shoes as pointy or non-pointy as you want. Now for elves, I feel like they should have really pointy shoes. I think I got it going up just a little too far. There we go. Wipe off the extra. And I'll just kind of bring it back down. Alright, and then just to give you a guiding point, and then we can adjust this as we go along. But there we go. So we got the basic shape of our elf in. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to start filling them in. So for this, let me see here, what brush do I want to use? Yeah. I'm going to start with his hat. And I'm using maybe a 1/4 inch brush, 1/4 inch wide. And I'm going to be using my green. And to start, I'm going to go add a little bit of white to it. Now feel free to mix a little water in as well. Now you may be wondering, with the chalk, once this dries, if you got any extra chalk, showing. Once this paint dries, acrylic dries like a plastic, you'll be able to go ahead and wipe any extra chalk residue off. So I went ahead, put in the outline, and I'm going to fill it in with this lighter green. So it's green and white mixed together. Now maybe you want a red elf hat with some green stripes on his stockings. Completely up to you. And if you started doing this and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have known that before I started painting this green, just go ahead. You can blow dry this or let it air dry. Make sure you pause me first. And then just go ahead and paint over it with some red and white mixed together. But I'm doing the green. There we go. Now before we get this to be this really nice green here, we do have to let this dry. And I'm just going to kind of work my way down slowly. So I'm rinsing my brush out, beating the devil out of it. And next I'm going to go ahead and block in his nose. So I'm going to use that, I like to call it like a Dijon mustard color. And I'm going to mix a little white with it. And then I'm going to fill it in. And those colors give it a nice skin tone. But if you feel like it's a little too yellow, mix a little red with it. And then it will give it a little more pinky, which he's an elf. He's up where it's really cold. So he might have a little bit of rouge to his nose. Just because it's so cold up there. All right. The next thing I'm going to do, rinse my brush out really good. I'm going to take some white. Mix a little water in with that. And I'm going to fill in his stockings next. Now you may be wondering why I'm doing the stockings next and not his beard. Beard is actually going to be the last step we do. Or one of them anyways. I'm just going to go ahead, fill it in really nice and neat on the sides and the bottom where it connects to the shoe, because the socks do go inside the shoe. And then I'll just get a little looser where his beard's going to go, because we are going to be covering that up. And then as we're filling this in, maybe you want to think about a name you could give your elf. Get to know him a little bit. I know it sounds silly, but why not? And for the shoes, I'm moving on to that next. And I'm going to keep them this really nice goldy color. And so I'm going to use that Dijon color with some white mixed in. I'm not going to add red this time because I want these in the long run to kind of have a goldy tone to it. And painting with gold paint is always fun. I can't wait till we do it. Maybe I should start adding metallic paint to all my paintings because it's just so much fun to paint with. I'm gonna go ahead, go on this side. And now if his shoes aren't the exact same shape, exact same size, it's okay. Just so they're close. And I'm actually going to go ahead and maybe make his foot over here just a little bigger. There we go. Thicken it up a little bit. There we are. And voila, base coat's done for the shoes as well. And now while we let these elements dry, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take a small round brush. So, not very big, nice and round. And I'm going to take some white, mix a little water in with it. And I'm going to be putting in my snowflakes. These are going to be super fun. You can make them look like mine. You can make your own designs. I'm going to start with this one on the left side there. And I'm going to start that one off with just a basic cross. Oop. Started to curve a little bit. That's okay. I will roll with it. There we go. And then on each side here, it's gonna just kind of curve a little bit. So loop in. Same thing here, loop in. Adjust if you need to, loop in. If you have a happy accident like I did, maybe just go ahead and, if it gets a little thicker, no big deal. The snowflake just means business. Alright, and then I'm going to put some fun little wispies there. And then on each point, I'm going to give them little dots. There we go. It's kind of fun. Alright, and then for this guy, I'm going to angle him just slightly differently. So I'm going to make an X. Voila. And then, X him. There we go. He almost looks kind of like a puff. And then on each one, just going to add some fun little dots around there. And then this guy, he's super fun. He's going to make like a diamond shape. I'm going to angle him just slightly. Do my best to angle him anyways. There we go, nice little diamond shape. I'm going to put a little square in the middle. Like that. Dots here. And then on each line of the diamond part of this snowflake, I'm going to go ahead and make some lines. And then almost like an arrow, the feather of the arrow, I'm going to give it that little effect. And then on the inside of that little square, I'll give him a dot too. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to do 3 snowflakes, but if you want to add more, feel free to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to my smaller brush we were using, that smaller flat brush, and we're going to start building the layers on these different elements. And I'm going to start with the hat again. And this time I'm just going to take straight up green. You can wet the paint if you need to. I'm just going to put some green over this. Yeah. Fill it in nice and good. If you need to go back over spots, feel free to. Take your time here. This isn't a race. Like I said before, if you need to pause, rewind, do what you need to do. I think this is good for a second layer. Just going to smooth some of the paint out. There we go. And then for his nose, I'm going to go ahead and give it just a, I think I'm going to leave it this shade, maybe give it a little shadow. So I'm going to take some of that Dijon color. Maybe mix just a smidge of red with it. You don't want a whole lot of red, because a little red does go a long way. There we go. I'm just going to give his nose over here, maybe just a little shadow. Going too far with it, you can always bring back some of that first color we did. If you need to mix a little more, it's okay if it's slightly off. I got it really nice and gloopy. Okay, I'm actually going to take my medium brush, make sure it's really nice and rinsed. Do my best to blend these. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. There we go. And then on the top, I'm going to go ahead, take a little white. Give the top of his nose a nice, a little highlight. There we go. It's just going to make his nose look a little more three-dimensional. And then for his socks, you'll put that brush back. Actually, I feel like his nose could use just a little more. There we go. There we go. Now for his socks, I'm going to go ahead and just give him one more coat. Yeah, see how that one extra coat is really making them stand out? There we go. Make his stockings stand out a little more. And now for his shoes, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, look at that. the yellow ochre or Dijon mustard, whatever you want to call it, all by itself. Look how nice and rich that is. That looks good. I like that. And after you're done with one side, go ahead and repeat that on the other side. Just be nice and careful so you get those nice crisp edges. There we go. Just check and make sure you got all the parts that you want to get covered. And if you've moved on to a shoe and you want to check the other shoe, there we go. I like how this is starting to come together. Alright, now in the hat, if you notice, there are some highlights. But if you need to give your hat another layer of the dark green, feel free to put some more in. You can go up and down, you can go sideways. Either way is going to be really helpful in giving this hat some dimension. But on the one side here, I'm going to go ahead, I mixed some white and green together. I'm going to pull it in slightly. Give it a nice little highlight. Same thing on the bottom here. The brim, I'm going to go ahead. I made a line, moving it up. Adjust anything if you need to. There we go, give it a nice little highlight. Okay. So if you want to check, next thing we're going to do is we're going to be putting in our fun little stripes on our stockings. So if you want to check and make sure this is dry. Yeah, mine's still a little wet, so I'm actually going to pause right now and I'm going to go ahead and blow dry this. But if you have other things to work on, feel free to keep working on that, and then we'll go ahead and the next thing we're going to do is put in these fun little stripes. Alright everybody, so I dried my elf stockings, and next thing we're going to do is we're going to make them look like a candy cane. Now I'm doing red, but like I said before, if you want them to be green, or heck, maybe you want them to be gold stockings, this is up to you. I'm starting with my smaller brush, and I'm going to grab some red. And then I'm going to go ahead, I know this one's most likely going to get covered up, but you never know, so I like to go ahead and just add something just in case. So there's that one there, and then I'm going to put one down here. And same thing on the other side. I'm going to do my best to kind of make a match. There we go. And then with my medium brush, he's getting a lot of work today. This guy. I'm gonna go ahead, maybe smooth those edges out a little bit and then fill in. And take your time here, go nice and slow. I got those. You can do both on the same side first. Otherwise, you can go ahead and switch off like I am, just so these get filled in. And I am going to add a second layer to this. I feel like we could make these a little more red looking. I'm going to let that dry for a minute. So I'm going to go ahead, rinse my brush out. And while that dries, I'm actually going to take some gold. You can add a little water to this if you'd like. Just make sure your medium brush is nice and rinsed. Then add some gold accents to the hat. Just kind of making the marks random, but you can add as much gold or as little gold as you want. And then I do want his shoes to have a little gold too. I'm also going to give his shoes, while I'm doing this, feel free to give it a little highlight on each edge there on those sides. Oopsies, happy accident. Went a little too far with my, there we go. So when paint is still wet, you can wipe it away a little bit. I don't like to promote that, but sometimes that happens. There we go. And if you don't want those edges as harsh, just add a little bit of the yellow ochre back in there. There we go, and then you can go ahead, add some gold to the shoes. Super fun. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back. Add a little more red to my stockings. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. You can add as many or as few layers of this as you want. It's just that if the paint's still really wet, you may need to go dry it or let it dry and work on something else. See how nice that's popping out now? Okay. I was mistaken. I just want to do a couple more little touch-ups on this guy. This little stocking there. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to actually go ahead and dry this, because next thing we're doing is we're finally going to be working on his super fun beard. So I do need this red to be dry. So I'm going to go dry that, and then once I am back, we're going to go ahead and put it in this really fun beard. And if you want to get yourself a fresh cup of water, make sure it's nice and clean. Then you don't have to worry about any of the other colors we've been rinsing in that cup getting into his beard. All right. Okay, so now I do have this part here. I'm going up there, but it's down here. I have this nice and dry. And I'm going to stick with that medium brush. I really like it. And you should have yours nice and rinsed out. If you got yourself some fresh water, awesome. But for his beard, it's going to be a lot of white. And then we're going to be adding a little black in there too. And the black's going to give it a nice gray. And if you notice, there's a lot of wispy marks in here. And they kind of curve and then kind of whoosh out to give it that really nice, fun beard look. So you can go ahead if you want to start with your white, add a little water to it. And I'm going to go ahead, just start by putting that little outline in. And then I'm going to go ahead and wisp out that way, wisp out that way. Same thing over here. Go like that. Then I kind of have a good idea of where the beard's gonna go. Feel free if you want to get real close here right now. Just doing these nice little marks, and if you notice, I'm having them just kind of follow the shape of this curve. We'll be adding more here, but this is just giving us a really nice idea of where this is all gonna go. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start with these really nice whooshy marks. Some white paint. And then I'm just gonna start filling this in. And then just go ahead and keep whooshing out. There we go. And you can, trade off where you start. You can kind of fill this in wherever you need to, wherever you want to. We do need to fill all this in. And if the paint's going on a little rough, remember you can always mix a little water with it. There we go. And then as we get closer to this edge, you can start to get those little nice flicks in there if you want to. It is okay if you notice I am going back and forth a little bit, but I am following the shape of his beard. Now you may have decided to make his beard a little longer, maybe a little droopier. It's your elf. I am going to start adding a little gray in here. Maybe darken it up a little bit, at least to start with. If it's too dark, you can always go back the other way. Yeah. These marks may not make a whole lot of sense right now. There we go. Start to fill it in nice and good. So one side I filled in with a little more white, one side I'm filling in with a little more gray. Just so it makes sense at the end, it don't matter. And then I do, as I'm starting to fill this in, I'm going to do my best to get as close to his nose as I can. Because we don't want a big gap between his nose and his beard. Because in reality, beards go right up to the nose, at least the mustache part. There we go. And I'm just going to keep filling this in. Here we go. Just going to keep going. It's okay if this is taking you a little while. It's taking me a little bit too. Just gonna keep on going. Keep filling this in. And then once I have this more, a little more solid, I'm going to start maybe making some marks a little shorter. A little more random, start to get a little texture in here. So it's okay to start having some of these marks stand out a little bit. And as I'm working on my elf here, I think I'm gonna name him Mr. Pumpernickel Peppercorn. I think it suits him. Going on the ends here, I am going back and forth a little bit. And I'm just giving the edges of his beard a little more texture. Might give a little more separation in between this side and that side. There we go. I'm liking them. I think I'm gonna call it a day here in just a sec. You like how he's turned out? But just because I'm done doesn't mean you have to be done, so don't worry. Feel free to pause, rewind, like I've said before. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do is autograph this bad boy. I'm gonna do gold and white. Let's see how that looks. Yeah. You sign it however you want. There we go. Nice. And there you have it. So here is my fun little elf. Can't wait to hang him up for the holidays. And if you're still painting, go ahead and keep painting. But I want to thank you for joining me today. And I would love to see how your elves turned out. So I will, at the end of this video, include an email where you can send these. Otherwise, you can share them on our Facebook page. And I hope you're having a great day and look forward to painting with you soon. Bye. Hey there everybody, so I just wanted to thank you again for painting with me today. If you had a good time and you want to see more, make sure to like this video and to subscribe below. So we'll see you again soon.